Alright, let's talk about Carry On Columbus, the movie that tried to bring the beloved British comedy series back to life and ended up sparking a whole lot of debate. Whether you're a die-hard fan of the franchise, someone who stumbled across this oddity, or just curious about why this revival didn't work, we're going to unpack it all. The plot, the cast, the behind-the-scenes stories, and what went so wrong. By the time Carry On Columbus arrived in 1992, the Carry On series was already legendary, with 30 films made between 1958 and 1978. These were cheeky, bawdy, and quintessentially British, filled with double entendres and a revolving cast of comedy icons like Sid James, Kenneth Williams, and Barbara Windsor. But the franchise had gone dormant after Carry On Emmanuel in 1978, and with the comedy landscape changing, many thought the series was a thing of the past. So, when Carry On Columbus was announced, there was excitement. This could be a glorious comeback. Or skepticism. Could the formula still work in the 1990s? The plot is what you'd expect from a Carry On movie, a loose parody of a historical event, in this case, Christopher Columbus's voyage to the New World. Jim Dale stars as Columbus, a charming but bumbling explorer who's tasked with finding a new trade route to India. Along the way, there's treachery from rival explorers, plenty of incompetent crewmates, and a lot of slapstick mishaps before Columbus and his team accidentally stumble upon America. It's classic Carry On fare, a mix of historical spoof, misunderstandings, and a heavy dose of innuendo. The cast, as always, was a major selling point. Jim Dale was one of the biggest names returning from the original series. A staple of the Carry On films in the 60s and 70s, his comedic timing and physical humour brought some much-needed charm to the role of Columbus. Joining him was Bernard Cribbins, another Carry On veteran whose presence was a nostalgic nod to fans of the franchise. Leslie Phillips, known for his smooth-talking ladies' man persona, also returned, as did the wonderful June Whitfield, who brought her impeccable comedic delivery to the film. But Carry On Columbus didn't just rely on old faces. It also tried to bring in some fresh talent to appeal to a modern audience. This included Sara Crowe, who was Jim Dale's daughter-in-law at the time, married to his son Toby. Sara, best known for her roles in comedy and theatre, played the devious Fatima, a spy. Julian Clary and Rik Mayall, both stars of alternative comedy in the 80s and 90s, also joined the cast. Alexi Sale and Nigel Planer rounded out the newer faces, adding their own quirky energy to the film. But this mix of old-school carry-on humour and modern, edgier comedic styles didn't quite gel. The clashing tones left the film feeling disjointed, and instead of revitalising the series, it ended up alienating both older fans and younger audiences. Part of the issue was timing. By 1992, the cheeky, innuendo-heavy humour that defined the Carry On films felt out of date. The comedy scene had shifted towards sharper, more subversive humour, and the bawdy jokes of Carry On Columbus didn't resonate with audiences the way they might have in the 60s or 70s. Critics savaged the film for being stale and unfunny, and many felt it failed to capture the spirit of the original series. The film also faced backlash for its subject matter. In the 60s and 70s, spoofing Christopher Columbus might have seemed harmless, but by the 90s, people were starting to have more open conversations about the darker side of Columbus's legacy: colonialism, exploitation, and genocide. While the film doesn't engage with those issues directly, the fact that it's centered on Columbus felt tone deaf to some audiences. Financially, Carry On Columbus was a flop. It grossed less than £1 million at the box office, a far cry from the successes of earlier films like Carry On Camping. It was clear that the attempt to bring the franchise back had failed. Behind the scenes, the film was made at Pinewood Studios, the traditional home of the Carry On series. The sets recreated 15th century Spain and Columbus's ships, but the low budget was painfully obvious, especially compared to other historical comedies of the era. Despite the best efforts of the cast and crew, the production just couldn't capture the magic of the classic films. Today, Carry On Columbus is remembered as a bit of an oddity. It's a fascinating attempt to revive a beloved series, but it serves as a reminder that nostalgia alone isn't enough to guarantee success. The Carry On films were a product of their time, and trying to transplant that style of humour into a new era without adapting was always going to be a challenge. So, if you're curious about what a 90s Carry On looks like, it's worth checking out, if only as a curiosity. But if you're hoping for the charm and hilarity of Carry On Cleo or Carry On Camping, you might want to manage your expectations. Thanks for watching, and I want to hear from you. What's your favourite Carry On film? Do you think the series could work if it were brought back again today? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.
Thank you very much.